to all Asiatics and Muslims in attendance and worldwide. I'm Sheikh Amir El, chairman here. Peace. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to our Sunday meeting. And we're going to open up our meeting with a guest speaker. Very excited to have the brother speak again. He is a master of the science of numerology. The brother has been in this movement for many years and has a lot of wisdom to share with y'all, brother. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our brother Tyrain L to the podium to break down this knowledge. Islam?
Islam.
Peace.
You could adjust the mic if you want to.
Islam.
Islam.
I rise giving all praise to Allah, the great God of the universe. I like to give honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I'd also like to extend those honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honors to the Brooklyn Moors for having me and showing hospitality. I'm here representing Temple number 33 out of Atlanta, styled as the Noble Temples. And Islam, I'm just here to drop a measure too. Thank you for your time.
Islam.
So today I want to drop a measure on the number 7. Most of us already know a lot about the number 7. Obviously, it's on the front of our Quran, the Circle 7 Quran, which Noble Drew Ali prepared for us divinely. And the number 7 is a very powerful number. But before I get into the number 7 specifically, I want to go through numbers 1 through 9, just a quick rundown to kind of understand how numbers work in the realm of numerology. Numbers basically have a vibrational frequency that can be measured. And over time, you can start to see patterns of how these numbers work in a cyclical fashion. As we know as Moorish Americans, time is measured in cycles. It's not linear. It goes round and round and round. That's why we say what goes around comes around. So we already know this inherently. So when we look at numbers 1 through 9, here's a quick breakdown of just how the frequency goes. I like to start with the story of Adam and Eve because many are familiar with that story. We know in the Bible, first came Adam. So I use number 1 to represent man. And we understand the qualities of a number 1, the traits of a man, or the masculine energy, if you will, would be original, independent, aggressive, individualistic, creative, dominant, the first in a series, the start of any operation, the leader, the pioneer, the boss who likes authority, and he who goes forth. After Adam was created, we all know that next came Eve, or woman. So number 2 would be woman, or the feminine principle. And some traits of number 2 are adaptable, tactful, understanding, gentle, cautious, and a follower rather than a leader. So after man and woman, obviously the next thing that comes is the child. So number 3, I call that number the child. And some of the key words to represent number 3 are expansive, sociable, dramatic, communicative, diversified, and creative. So after the child is born, the next thing they do is they build a home or some shelter so that they can all sustain themselves. So number 4 represents the builder. And so number 4, some of the key words we start with: form, work, order, practicality, construction, stability, endurance, and discipline. After that, man then goes and explores his area and sees what's in his surroundings. So 5 represents freedom. So some of the key words of 5 will be versatility, resourcefulness, adaptability, change, activity, travel, adventure, promotion, and speculation. So after he explores his area, naturally he comes home and gets his family life and family structure in order. So number 6 represents family. So some key words would be family and social responsibilities, service, love, compassion, counseling, healing, and creativity. After he gets his family in order, next we go to number 7. And number 7 represents getting in tune with your higher self, or what we call the God force. So after he gets his family in order, he then goes alone, meditates, and gets in tune with his higher self. So number 7, some of the key words would be quiet, introspective, intuitive, analytical, inspirational, reclusive, philosophical, and mystical. But after he gets in tune with his higher self, he then acquires the power and the money. So that's 8. So 8 represents money, power, and karma. So key words would be power, responsibility, financial rewards, good judgment, and recognition. And finally, after he's attained those, he gives them all away, which is 9, is compassion. And that's the highest level or the end of a complete cycle. And some of the key words are love, compassion, patience, universality, tolerance, selfless service, and ending. So that's just a quick rundown of numbers 1 through 9 and how they correlate. But here today, I'm specifically going to speak about the number 7, as we have on the front of our holy book, the Circle 7 Quran. Now, again, 7 represents the higher self, or it represents God. And we know in Moorish science, God represents the higher self. And we also know that a man's ideals are his gods. So with the Circle 7 being divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the ideals that we should be following are set forth in this book.
Islam.
So this 7 really represents us in our highest state, and it represents our highest ideals. And we know, the highest ideals that we claim are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. However, this book, the Circle 7 Quran, is an instruction manual of your higher self and how to carry yourself and how to live in this society that we live in, a civilized society, an American society.
You working, Mo?
I want to read the number 7 just so you can kind of get an understanding of the 7 energy. So 7 tries to establish a philosophy by which to live and attempts to penetrate the mystery behind the existence which it has never questioned to this point. So the number 7 energy is about that philosophy, having an ideal, having a system, a way in which you govern yourself. And again, the Circle 7 Quran is a perfect example. Because solitude is necessary for analysis, the 7 feels the need to spend time alone, away from crowds, and in touch with nature. Now, as above, so below, I'm reading the vibrational frequency of 7, but we also know that this applies to man. So if any of you were a number 7, which you can easily figure out by adding your birthday up, these ideals, these qualities would apply to you. So you would find yourself needing time alone. You would find yourself in deep thought, in meditation. You would tend to be more spiritual or more religious than others. Number 7, it looks for friendship with those of an elevated consciousness that can match its own. On the 7th day, God rested. All things rest under the number 7 because time is needed in which to think. The ions under 7 feel poised and calm. They realize that they now need to be still and to know. And what that is referring to is we know that everything moves in frequencies, and we know that everything vibrates at certain levels. So with the 7, you want to slow down those vibrational frequencies and get in tune with your higher self. This is what meditation is for, as well as prayer. You can meditate standing, you can meditate while sitting, you can do moving meditation such as Tai Chi and Qigong, and these are all ways to slow down your vibrational frequency so that you can get in tune and hear the words from Allah, hear that small still voice that's in your heart. 7 ushers in the cycle of physical completion without apparent effort. Now we know that 9 would be the ending of a full cycle, but we know that 7 is also the ending of a cycle as well. We know that there's 52 weeks in a year, and 5 plus 2 is 7. We know that there's 7 days in a week, and even according to our 101s, we know there's 7 days in a year. And that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, for anybody who may not understand that science. That's just 1 degree on it. But 7 is definitely also a full cycle as well. Goals that have been long sought are now magically attained. Spare time is available in which philosophical and metaphysical interests can be pursued. So number 7 is such a high spiritual number that when it comes to attaining material things, you can do that all through the power of the mind, because 7 is all internal, and it brings you in to Allah. So once you come into Allah and you manifest with that void or that force that basically governs the whole planet, the whole world, the whole universe, you then have access to anything you need. And you can manifest this through proper meditation, through taking that time alone to get in tune with your higher self, to see what your divine purpose is and why you're supposed to be here, and moving in that direction along with the guidance of Allah. If you're following that small, still voice, you're following in the right direction, these things will definitely come to you over time.
Slow.
Perfected thinking is the goal of 7, which is why it is called the sacred number. Now, we all know that Prophet Drew Ali, one thing he wanted to break us out of, which was called European psychology. And that literally just means a way of thinking. We're thinking backwards. We're thinking like our oppressors. But when we start to think and get in tune with Allah, it will change the whole way we carry ourselves. It'll just change our whole environment, because everything starts with a thought. And once you get your mind right, your thoughts right, everything else will fall into place. Islam. It's also why scientists, philosophers, teachers, mystics, and the clergy come under this influence. So all of those type of occupations or those type of people will come under that 7 energy. And so it's no coincidence that Prophet Drew Ali brought us the Circle 7 Quran.
That's right.
The physical facet of 7 also relates to the health of the body, which is highly sensitized through this vibration. And what I've come to realize during years of readings is that people who are in a 7-year cycle, they tend to have health issues. And a lot of times that is just so that you will slow down and take that time to get in tune with your inner self or your higher self. Because a lot of times in this fast-paced world, especially somewhere like New York City, you don't have the time to slow down, and you constantly keep pushing. And Allah is saying you need to take time to slow down, get in tune, and then you will be directed in the right path. And if you don't want to do that, then unfortunately a lot of times we'll be forced to do that. Now, we all know that when Prophet Drew Ali first came on the scene, he was healing people. He was also a herbalist. And he still has teas and compounds that we can find to this day that are still relevant to our health. So when you're dealing with the health and the 7, it's all combined and it all adds up. So that's my measure on 7. But I also want to just add on a little bit with the Prophet. Prophet Drew Ali, the last time I was here, I did his numerology chart to show that he really was the Christ reincarnated based on numerology. And I also want to show, though, his personality number. So when I do numerology, I look at 2 different numbers. Your personality number, which is the month and day you're born, and then I look at your life lesson number, which is month, day, and year. So we know that Prophet Drew Ali was born on January the 8th. We know 1 + 8 is 9. So again, 9 would be his personality number. Now, going back to the numbers that I revealed earlier, we know that 9 is the end of the cycle, but we know that it represents compassion. And we know that Prophet Drew Ali had a lot of compassion for his people, to the point where he literally gave his whole life trying to uplift a group of people who really was so mentally dead that a lot of them didn't even want to be uplifted or didn't even realize that they were down. So I want to read a little bit about the number 9 so that you can understand how that relates to numerology and how it relates to our Prophet Drew Ali. 9 represents compassion, encompassing a love for all. It desires to apply its energy to universal service. It bestows an impersonal but just view of life, one that is generous, benevolent, and patient. And we all know that the Prophet was very patient with our people, to have to come and teach them some of the basics that they should have already known, but that was stripped away from them during the time of slavery. This is the artist and thinker who has developed skills through the preceding cycles and is now ready to share his or her knowledge with the rest of the world. So we all know that the Prophet had to go through a period of learning and study and self-reflection so that he could be in a position to bring that knowledge to us, and that's what he did. This is what makes him a prophet, the fact that he was able to tap into his higher self and stay there, where most of us will have times when we'll tap into our higher self, but it's a constant struggle for the higher in the lower.
That's right.
The ions are in their final state of completion. They have traveled the entire cycle of 9 parts, ingesting experiences along the way. So this means that 9 is also an ancient number, so meaning that reincarnation is more than likely with number 9. And we know that the Prophet was the Christ energy reincarnated, and I can prove that in numerology as well. But just based on the number 9, we know that 9 is the end of that cycle, or the highest completion. So Once you've been here enough times and you've learned enough lessons, then Allah can prepare you to bring that message to someone else. 9 is ready to give back to the universe some measure of what it has learned through the 8 previous steps of the cycle. And we know 8 also can represent infinity if it's turned sideways, but we know that 8 represents karma. So we know that karma also deals with reincarnation and coming back again and having to deal with past lives. The law of cyclicity allows for no waste and demands input for output. When this is done willingly, the completion experienced under number 9 brings only joy at the gift of life and the freedom from which to enter the next cycle unencumbered. And keywords for 9 again are love, compassion, patience, universality, tolerance, self-service, and ending. And I think we can all apply those words to Prophet Drew Ali with the tolerance, the self-service. He was a universal prophet. He had a lot of patience for our people, love and compassion. And I think when you look at his life, you definitely see those traits. The number 9 I also would like to read just to get an understanding of our prophet's personality based on the number 9. So number 9 people, and this is in general, but this would apply specifically to our prophet as well. You are a humanitarian, a universalist who thinks in abstract terms, born for service to others. You want to make the world a better place in which to live. Since 9 is the last single digit, it indicates attainment, perfection, and completion, the seed for new beginnings, the foundation for future growth in the next or higher cycle. You have a thirst for spiritual knowledge and an urge for freedom and wisdom that transcends personal needs. You desire to live an ideal life according to your inspirations and aspirations. Through your responsive reaching out to the world, you become a beacon for others. We all know that Prophet Drew Ali was a beacon of light for our people during a very dark period. The number 9 is also a testing number. The higher you evolve, the more difficulties you may encounter. You should be tolerant of and merciful to others on your path. In this way, you will be an example for them, and they will recognize your sympathetic and compassionate nature. People will be drawn to you for your deep and broad understanding. Your thinking is vast and without limits. Because of your openness, your psychic abilities are well developed, and foresight, premonition, and predictions flow from you with ease. We all know that our prophet did foresee a lot of things. He spoke a lot of things into existence and spoke a lot of things into the future for our people and as well as individuals prior to him heading the movement.
That's a fact.
You seem to have a direct line to the mysteries of life. You have very strong emotions and feelings and could evolve a new philosophy for humanity. Now, I think that's very interesting because our prophet definitely brought a new philosophy for humanity. His goal was to uplift fallen humanity. So this fits very well with his personality. You are generous and idealistic. For anyone who needs your wisdom and guidance, you are open-handed and beneficent. Because you realize that knowledge belongs to those who seek it, charitable work is close to your heart, and you are likely to be a patron of the arts and sciences. Now, we all know that, our organization has a Rotarian complex. So charity is a big part of our organization. And 9 also represents science. So we know there, the Moore Science Temple, we're dealing with science as well. Your associations with other people in your life are intense, but not necessarily enduring. You must learn to let friends go when their needs have been filled, because your destiny is to be a loner, a sort of recluse. You are not meant to sit alone meditating on a mountaintop, but your innate wisdom and understanding separates you from the crowd. And we know that Prophet Drew Ali did not just vanish and go somewhere and meditate. He actually built something for our people. So I think that speaks highly to him. You must share your wisdom to enlighten the world, so you cannot be bound by enduring ties that would limit your mobility. Your life cycle includes travel and association with famous personalities who will be drawn to you by your free spirit and broad compassion. And we know that during the time of the prophet, he was running with some of the movers and shakers, particularly in Chicago, and a lot of very wealthy people. Your friendship encompasses the world. You easily acquire money and independence so that you are free to pursue your worldly destiny. We know that Prophet Drew Ali had a lot of successful businesses, and that enabled him to be able to build more and more temples. If you are a -9, you are self-serving and concerned with your own needs rather than the needs of others. This self-indulgence precludes belief in higher source and can result in faithlessness. When crossed, you are quick-tempered. Your keen mind makes you a formidable enemy. Since 9s have to live up to a higher standard than the other numbers, the resulting tension can cause nervous trouble. This can produce unhappy relationships with others, including your mate. So those would have been some of the negative aspects of 9. And just looking at the Prophet's life, I can't say that I've seen those being presented by him. The sacred science of numbers. The 9 individual has run the gamut of personal experiences, including both high and low, the mundane and the spiritual. It is the synthesis of this experience which produces the sympathy, compassion, and rare understanding which is characteristic of 9. Using the enhancing qualities of your 9, you can be the visionary for whom all things are possible. Your faith in life embraces all and looks forward to evolution as the promise of the Spirit. So, if I was doing a reading on anybody who's a number 9, including Prophet Drew Ali, that's exactly what I would have read to him. And just reading that, I think it gives a lot more insight into Prophet Noble Drew Ali and why he was a divine prophet and how he was divinely prepared by the great God, Allah, as well as we can show, based in a science called numerology, how the numbers even add up. So I just wanted to drop that measure. I really appreciate your time. Did anybody have any questions or anything that didn't make sense?
I got a quick question. Appreciate you coming out. My question is, you used the month and the day for the personality number. You said it was another number.
This is called the life lesson number. That's the most important number in your makeup. And that's when you simply add the month, day, and year. And you keep it in double digits. So if you was born on, on November, if you was born like November the 3rd, you would add 11, or 23rd, you would add 11 plus 23. And then your year, you would break that down to 2 digits. So if you was born in 1980, you would just break that down to 2 digits, which would be 18. And that's how you figure out your life lesson number. And once you do that, you'll know your divine purpose for being here. But your personality number, which is just simply the month and day you were born, you just add those two together, is your quality traits that you came here with already. It's what you were born with. Your life lesson is what you're here to become. So when you look at Prophet Drew Ali, for example, if you look at his life lesson number, it was a 32-5, which is the Christ energy. So he was here to be that. But when you look at his personality number, he was 9, which is compassion. So that's the qualities that he came here with. That makes sense.
That's fine. I appreciate it.
Islam.
So, any more questions for the brother? Which goes out?
Yes, sir.
Even if it's your own personal numerology.
Yeah, I do readings. Anybody want to hit me up? I know there's some skeptics. There's always some, but I've been doing this for 9 years now, and I've done over 200 readings. I have a 99% accuracy rating, and once you see how time works in cycles, it's really not spooky. It's just like if you were having a baby and the doctor told you you were ovulating between this day and this day, that's the best time to try to procreate. Doesn't mean you're going to have a child, but more than likely you will if you're trying to. And so just understanding those cycles, you can calculate those cycles, and you can start to read into, quote unquote, your future, if you will. Islam?
Islam.
The more Vitus wants to volunteer, you just give a demonstration brief.
Okay. Let me grab my calculator.
Go for it. And just so y'all know, he did mine the last time he was here, and I was flabbergasted and amazing. The thing, he even did it for what was supposed to happen for 2019, and everything that he said actually panned out. So it's crazy.
Islam.
Whose birthday? What's your birthday?
It's 9/19/85.
9/19? Okay. So you was born on 9/19, and that equals 28. So your personality number is 28, but 2 plus 8 equals 1, or equals 10. And we know 1 is the masculine energy or the leader. So we already know that you're not a leader. You're not a follower. Excuse me. You're a leader. People will follow you. You actually can't be in a position where somebody's consistently telling you what to do. It will get on your nerves because at some point you're going to have to be in control because you're like a dominant person. That's the dominant energy or the masculine energy. But that's generic. So I will read about you specifically, and this goes to your personality. If you use good care and judgment, there are great possibilities for your life. You are ambitious and progressive, willing to lead and take responsibility. You wish to improve existing conditions. Your positive, direct approach to life instills zest in every new enterprise you initiate. You are a person of action with the ability to see things as they really are, unclouded in preconceived ideas or thoughts. You have a good judgment because you have a direct link with your source of knowledge and a perfect balance between your desires and your thoughts. You are a visionary with the ability to translate your dreams into tangible products. This is vital, stimulating, resourceful quality. This is a vital, stimulating, resourceful quality in this number, always ready for action and pioneering ventures. With boldness and courage, you are the master of your fate, the sovereign of your world. Your talents for inspiring others. Your balanced mind, kindness, and generosity create a karmic reaction which brings you success and satisfaction. You are attractive to to the opposite sex. Money and good fortune are your payments for giving others your energy and material assistance. You may have an interest in scientific procedures. The negative aspect, you can be reckless and daring. You should practice self-control to regain balance. You can be proud, dominating, intolerant, and full of contradictions. Losses may result from poor judgment and misplaced trust in others. You probably work better if you do not work alone, and at this point you may need to begin again, profiting by experience. Once you have determined your goal and learned to trust your intuition, you'll be well on your way to a position of contentment and worldly influence. So what I just read to you is a little bit about your personality. It had positive aspects as well as negative aspects. We all have positive and negative, or what we call the higher and lower self in word science. So the goal would be to tap into the higher qualities and to try to diminish your lower qualities, because we all have them, if that makes sense. But that's just a little bit about your personality. What I do is predictive numerology, so I'll look into your cycle. So your current cycle, and that goes from birthday to birthday, started on 9/19 of 2019, and it'll go from 9/19 to 2020. So you're in a 40 year. So you go through a cycle every 9 years, every 9 months, and every 9 days. And it can be mathematically calculated. So you're in a 4 year. So next year is going to be a 5. So I can already tell you next year you're going to go through a major change. Either you're going to change your job, you're going to change your location where you live, but something's going to change. But this year, the key words for you are finances, building, and birth. So this year is a good year for you to plan or build something. New techniques can be implemented for building a business, a house, or some type of venture. You are advised to use caution this year in any dealings. Handle your money wisely. This year you have to set up a budget and invest wisely. You have to put your affairs in order. This period will require a systematic existence. Only then will your subconscious carry out the plans you have desired. So this year you have to set up like a system or a plan that you follow, and you have to really get strict about it. You have to set up a budget. This is really a planning period. 4 represents the builder, so this is a building period for you. There will be different messages for you this year. The birth of a child, the beginning of a business, a new lifestyle, something new for you may be announced this year. These affairs will require that old habits be left behind. Therefore, breaks and separations are part of the cycle. So this year, you're going to have a break or separation. Maybe some people you deal with, you might stop dealing with them after this year, or there'll be a job or some situation. There's going to be a break. Also this year you need to be discriminating about those who you place your confidence. There'll be some obstacles that will present themselves for you this year, but the solution to those obstacles will uncover past procedures that you didn't really notice you had. So basically, you're going to come into some issues and you're going to realize resources that you never realized prior to this. You're going to be like, oh, I could have used this all along. So it's going to basically be a blessing in disguise, because now you'll realize certain resources that you might not have realized before. Islam?
Islam.